All right. Let's get this party started. Here we go. We'll give everybody a couple seconds to get joined up here. Meanwhile, I'll start putting my stuff away from the main show. So next couple weeks, I'm going to be recording 2 shows this week that are going to air over the next couple weeks. So you guys will have some new content. I want to make sure that we're actually providing you with some good content rather than just running best ofs or, segmented shows that are cobbled together. Wife and I are going on a vacation with the kiddos, and we'll be gone for a little bit, but then we'll be back. I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of my operations manager, Parker, who is up to the task for sure and ready to take command in my absence. I asked him the other day, I'm like, Parker, have you considered, you might pop in for a couple radio shows, if you want to get behind the microphone a little bit and start to, he's a genuinely funny guy, and he's got a great sense of sarcasm, and he's a good bridge between me and some of the younger employees. And so he understands what they're facing, and he understands what I'm looking for, and he's able to put the two together. So anyway, he's like, I'd definitely be game to try it, I guess. I didn't get the impression he was super excited to do it. So I was like, yeah, all right, no fill-in host. So we won't do a fill-in host, but we'll do. I'll pre-record some shows for you. All right, let's make sure I've got my comments section up here. So today, guys, I thought it would be fun to do something we haven't done ever before and do an Ask Me Anything. An AMA is basically you can ask anything you want. There's no topic off limits. Now, granted, if you ask me whether or not I'm wearing pants today, I may choose not to answer that question. But for the most part, I'll make an effort to answer any question you've got. So an Ask Me Anything show is what we've got in the works. Of course, we can talk about other stuff too if you have anything in particular that you want to discuss as well. I really debated that first segment of the program today. Last night, I didn't sleep last night very much, not because of the show, but just because this congestion, this cold that I've got. I'm pretty confident it's not COVID because I tore down a shed and took up the foundation over the last week while I had it. So when I had Delta, I wasn't tearing down any sheds. I can tell you that much. So I think it's just a genuine everyday cold. If it is COVID, well, then we ain't got nothing to worry about. Yay us, right? So, I don't know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But it is impacting my voice a little bit and my ability to project. So if things are quiet, let me know. I can try to do some things to turn up audio feeds a little bit. That's apparently because I'm you may not know this, but I'm half deaf in my left ear. And so I tend to speak much louder than is culturally appropriate. So some people might call it shouting, but I tend to be loud. So right now I feel like I'm being very, very quiet. But my sound meter is telling me that I'm 1.9 decibels under red line. So that's pretty much right where I want to be. So that it looks good on my end. If you need something more, let me know and I'll turn it up for you. Good morning, Mary. Good morning, Roger. Bill's back. Thanks for the audio check, Winston. I appreciate it. Roger's here. Mitch is here. Bill is here. Bill, looking to get a new big screen. Will you recycle my 25-year-old 52-inch monster? Know anyone who will? We don't do televisions at Schrock, primarily, especially ones that big, just because of transport. We have to actually take our recycles to the recycle facility, and that would require a very, very large truck. A company that will take it is Sadoff Recycling. That's who we use. They're gonna charge you something for it, but they will take it. That's a big TV. 25 years ago, you had a 52-inch television. You're the man, Bill. I'm just saying. That's a big TV for back in the day. All right, Richard's with us here too. All right, so yeah, I debated that segment that we started off the program with because number one, I don't know. I felt like I had an insight into a situation that was not being widely talked about. And my insight is it's not going to get better anytime soon. It's going to get worse. Now, I didn't want to come right out and be like, we're all gonna die, something stupid. Um, but every day you hear the market cycling, and it's like if the market goes up 800 points, like this is a great day for the Dow today. We're all happy. We're closing on a positive note. I was listening to the Clayman Countdown the other day, and she was like, the Dow is almost eking out a positive win for the day, almost. Like, we're getting excited that the Dow is almost positive. Like, that's where we're at. How far we have fallen, right? To like the stocks never go down, right? They always go up. Everybody knows that wasn't true. But knowing something isn't true. All right, when you have a great big bag of potato chips and it's full, and you're just deliciously eating them, and you should get a bowl, because if you don't get a bowl, you're just going to keep eating them out of the bag, and eventually the bag is empty. Now, in the beginning, you couldn't conceive of the bag being empty. But as you get closer to the bottom of the bag, you're like, well, it's almost empty. I mean, should I stop? I mean, who wants to put that little bit of chips back in the pantry, right? I mean, it's almost empty. So there's knowing that eventually the chips will be gone, and then there's actually experiencing hitting the bottom of the bag and thinking, oh, that wasn't a good plan. I shouldn't have done that. And maybe that's a bad analogy. Maybe I'm the only fatty that relates to that. But it was a bag of Sour Patch Kids for me the other day. My son's got me hooked on those things. So anyway, where I'm going with this is that people base their realities around what they've experienced recently. There's a word for this, and I can't... Cognitive dissonance? No, that's not it. I can't think of it. Where you can't imagine something happening because it hasn't happened recently, right? So we haven't had, we've never had a food shortage in America. So we're never going to have a food shortage in America. Now, I don't think we're going to have a food shortage in America. I don't think that we're going to have a situation where there literally is no food. With that said, I think we will have hunger because the cost of the food is going to be higher. I think there's already a lot of people who are making budgetary decisions that include food security in that calculus. Food pantries are reporting that they're seeing increased demand at a time when they're seeing decreased donations. So I mean, there's stuff going on around us, right? And that's always the case. There's always something going on. There's always a drought. There's always a flood. There's always a tornado. There's always a derecho. That's a new one, right? There's always something, right? It's just life. That's life. There's always something. Otherwise, it wouldn't be life. If there's nothing, you're dead, okay? But farmers plan for floods and droughts. They have insurance for those kind of things. There are things that you can do to prepare yourself for situations. So one of the things that I've been hearing in the news recently is I think we're finding a bottom here in the stock market selling. The selling is slowing, right? I think inflation is peaking. I'm hearing that. This is peak inflation. From here, we're not going to see a return to prices from before, but it's going to stop getting worse. So we're at peak inflation. I'm hearing there's going to be food shortages that are going to impact especially African countries and European countries, because a lot of people don't realize that the Middle East and Africa get like 75% of their grain from Russia and Ukraine. That grain's gone or dramatically reduced in production. And there was some storage. Excuse me, guys, that cold. There is some storage, so it's not like it's not an acute shortage. It's not like, boom, we're out of food. But what we're starting to see is a dwindling of supply, which is causing an increase in price, which is causing some food riots. And a lot of people don't realize, they think that the Arab Spring was started by the guy in Tunisia that poured gasoline on himself and lit himself on fire. Nobody ever asked, why did he do that? Why did he pour gasoline on himself and light himself on fire? Because he couldn't buy any food. So you could die by starvation or you could die in a ball of fire on TV. So he chose the ball of fire on TV. and that's what kicked off the Arab Spring. So there is some geopolitical instability happening. So I keep hearing that everything is going to get better soon, that everything is peaked, that all the bad news is behind us, that there's nothing else coming, that everything from this point forward is going to be rosy. Meanwhile, Target puts in horrible earnings report. Walmart puts in horrible earnings report and bad guidance. Some discount retailers do okay. They're doing all right. They're doing a little better. But I thought Walmart was a discount retailer, Well, Walmart's big problem was they screwed up on inventory. They have 40% more inventory on hand than they expected to have on hand at this point. They've got too much stuff. So on one hand, that's an indication potentially of a poor purchaser, poor purchasing decisions, possible. It could be the result of ill-timed freight. It's really tough to get stuff on hand on time, so you tend to order a lot of it because you don't know when your next meal's coming from, so you get a lot, and then all of a sudden your next one comes and your next one comes, and now you've got a ton and you don't know what to do with it. So that can happen. Or it can signal demand is falling. Instead of buying 3 pairs of socks, people are buying 2 because they can't afford 3, and they really only need 2. They can get by with 2. 3 would be nice. Laundry less often, but I can only afford 2. And that means Walmart's got extra socks. So, it could be that. So when I'm looking at all the news, I'm looking for that catalyst. It's like when a politician tells me their views have evolved on something. What caused your views to evolve? What specific event happened in your life? Or, at what point, what was your pivot point? What caused your view to evolve? Or was it just that the polling changed and you want to, represent what the current polling says? Not to be too cynical. So when you're telling me the economy is strong, that the consumer is strong, and all the data that I'm seeing is pointing to the opposite. I'm seeing credit card debts going up. Consumers are using their credit cards to bridge the inflation gap, and they're not paying them off at the end of the month. And the interest rates are going up. No one sees a problem with that. Layoffs are increasing. Job market's still pretty tight. Fed thinks it's real tight. The Fed is raising rates because the job market is too tight. How do you make the job market less tight? You could import a lot of workers, but we're not importing a bunch of high-skilled workers. And the job market for low-skilled workers is not tight. Or not as tight as it is for high-skilled workers, I should say. Or degreed workers. So the Fed is trying to cool the economy. They are trying to lower asset prices, including housing prices, including stock market prices. They are trying to loosen the labor market so we don't get a wage inflation spiral going where people need more money, so they demand more money from their employers. Their employers are terrified they won't be able to find another person to fill the job, so they're forced to give in and give the raise, even if the raise is a ridiculous one. And I've had some of my people come to me with some pretty sizable requests. Some of them granted, most of them not, because they were ridiculous. I'm sorry, you're not going to get a 26% raise and in the same breath tell me you want to do less work. What? That's the reality people are living in right now, though. And that's why I think it's going to be really, really rough for a lot of people when they get snapped in the face with the reality whip. And that's when everything seems to be, when Target is concerned about preferred pronouns on name tags. And then all of a sudden, boom, they have an earnings miss. All that's out the window now. Netflix is making content with the Obamas, is doing all kinds of woke stuff, making woke content, making cuties and all kinds of things that are controversial. All of a sudden, they're losing subscribers. They purged 150 jobs and a bunch of projects, and they're all left-wing projects, all of them. I don't know that it was ideologically, like an ideological purge. It could have just been that everything they had in production was left-wing. Could have been. But it's all gone. purged, including the Obamas. So Spotify doesn't renew Obama's podcast. It was spun as the Obamas weren't renewing with Spotify, but let's be honest, it was Spotify that didn't renew the contract. They aren't going to spend the money on them because they're not a draw. They're not bringing in the audience like Joe Rogan is. So when everything around you is contracting, and then it expands a little bit, and then it contracts more, and it expands a little bit, and it contracts more, we're going to see some really good rallies coming up because people are going to think the bottom is in, and they're going to jump back in with both feet, and they're going to buy. Let me talk to you in a market that I understand probably better than I understand the stock market, which is the crypto market. I've got some dry powder. I have cash on the sidelines that I have literally set aside over time, waiting for the price of Bitcoin to come down. The price of Bitcoin has come down significantly. I think it's going to come down more. I think we could be looking at 22, 24,000. Now, timing the market, that's something I'm not good at. So I've decided I'm going to start dollar cost averaging in now. And I just X number of dollars every week out of the money I've set aside going back into Bitcoin. And as the price fluctuates up and down, if it goes down, I will get a piece of that action going down. And if it goes up, well, I'll be really glad that I bought in when it was as low as it was because that was the actual bottom and I just didn't realize it. I don't think Bitcoin is going to zero. I don't think Ethereum is going to zero. Some of these other coins could go to zero, as we saw with Luna and Terra Coin and all this other stuff. We can get into that later if you want. So I had a customer ask me in the service center, Thor, you got to tell me when it's time to buy AMD again. And then it was funny because every time I hear an AMD profit report, I think about this customer now. But he was like, what about NVIDIA? And I'm like, I wouldn't touch any of them with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't buy a single one of them. They're too expensive. Even at the current levels, guys, I think we're going to see multiples drop to like 12, 13. I mean, they were at 22, 24, and they're currently at like 17. So, yeah, I think we're going to see another sizable drop. Not because the companies are bad, not because the companies aren't earning money, but we're going to see a drop because the speculative bubble is gone. There is no more free money to go into stocks because everybody expects them to go down. So people short the stocks, and then the stocks rally. They have an 800-point up day, crush all the shorts. And so money's being destroyed on both sides of the equation. So where do you go? What do you do? So my first thought is, well, you go to commodities, right? You go to minerals and mining and gold and silver and maybe a little bit of bonds, not too much because that's kind of scary right now. Maybe some treasury inflation protected bonds, kind of thing. So you do that, but if we are genuinely headed into a recession, we're going to use less of all of those things. So as a result, won't the prices of those things go down? But then on the other hand, I'm seeing articles about how we could experience blackouts in the United States of America in the middle of the country this summer because of energy shortages. And you're telling me we're not going to use more fossil fuels? I'm hearing rumbling that Russia wants to go back to the gold standard. You're not going to tell me the price of gold isn't going to go up if that happens. We're onshoring semiconductor production. We're going to need silver for that. We're going to need rare earths for that. You're telling me that mining and minerals isn't going to go up as we explore domestic options for these items? It seems to me that there's a better case to be made for that than to be made for regular stocks, like, buying an AMD and hoping that, their 5th gen chips do well. I don't even know if they're going to be able to make the 5th gen chips yet. I don't know if we'll be able to get them in time for the holiday special. They're supposed to be out this fall. That'd be amazing if they do get out in time for the holiday special. I'd love to get my hands on a 5th gen Ryzen chip. Or, 7th gen. 7th gen Ryzen. Not 5th. The 5th is already out. So anyway, I just think that there's a lot of people, especially younger people my age and younger, that are not consuming information the way that I consume it. They're not studying what happened before. Just I learned something new just yesterday. And a lot of you are going to laugh at me. You're going to laugh because I was like, okay, commodity prices, gold and silver, adjusted for inflation. Like, what are we talking about here? I mean, what are the potential? Where could it go? And the answer is pretty much nowhere. Yeah, historically. Yeah, there's manipulation everywhere. I get it. There always will be. But I learned that in the late 70s, early 80s, a couple of brothers tried to corner the silver market, and they got shorted out. And it was such a systemic shock to the system that the U.S. government actually bailed out these two individual investors. Like, bailed them out. Everything that's old is new again, guys. Everything under the sun. So I'm like, oh, the bailouts were happening back then too, I guess, weren't they? Yeah, it's just the bailouts are getting bigger, and everything gets bigger, and everything gets bigger and badder and crazier. Well, I don't think it's going to get less crazy. I don't think we're going to spin out of control and then devolve back into like a agrarian barter society. I don't think we're going to have a collapse on that scale unless there's some cataclysmic event. Which, oh yeah, there's a conspiracy that's about to happen. You know that the shutdown in Shanghai, it was fake. It was so the Chinese could load up all these consumer ships with troops and weapons, and they're steaming toward the United States right now for a West Coast invasion where they're going to launch tactical nukes and blow up the whole... This was actually somebody... This is why you have to be careful. I'm reading this on Liberty Daily, guys. And I'm like, this is beneath you. And yes, I know that the guy writing the article was a fill-in host for Alex Jones. When you're trying to out Alex Jones, I've been a fill-in host before. I get it. You're trying to make an impact, but this is so completely no. That's not happening. So you don't have to worry about that, right? So if something like that happens, then all bets are off, okay? But if we're talking about just the normal crash, boom, inflate, bailout cycle that we've been in for the last 70 years, well, it's going to pop. It's going to crash. It's going to get bailed. The bail will be bigger than the last one. There will be winners. There will be losers. And after that, there will begin another inflation cycle. When I say inflate, I don't mean inflation like in the dollar. I mean blowing a fiscal bubble. So I'm not buying any of the pundits that say, I think we have a bottom, I think the selling is done, I think inflation is done. Show me one reason why inflation is done. Gas prices are higher every single day for the last 15 days. Show me the price of oil coming down as China comes back online after lockdowns. I don't think that, yeah, they're buying the Russian oil, but I don't think it's going to, they're still, the Russian oil was there before, so show me the price coming down. That's not going to happen. Is it because we're massively exploring for oil in our own country and drilling it and piping it around where it needs to go to get refined? No. Show me the price of diesel coming down. It's not. Gee whiz, diesel energy goes into literally everything from factories to trucks to generators in the field. I mean, it's used for everything. And you're telling me that that's not going to have an inflationary impact on everything we buy? From food all the way across the board? Of course it is. Of course it is. So, yeah. So at some point, what ends up happening is the inflation gets so bad we get what's called demand destruction, where people literally say the price is too damn high, I just can't pay it. Literally, I can't pay it. I can't put fuel in my car. I just will have to choose not to and choose not to drive somewhere. That's demand destruction. And we're going to get to that point. I don't think we're there yet. We're there on the lower tier of things. And this is the horrible thing about inflation, is it hits the poorest people the hardest. And this is one of the reasons I was talking to my mom about how bad things were in the 1970s. She was a lot younger in the 1970s. I think inflation is just insidious on people under the age of 30 who are putting their financial roots down and trying to create the system that's going to fund their eventual retirement. People who have those roots, just like a plant that has deep roots, you can withstand some drought. You can withstand a little bit of, scorching sunlight. Yeah, it hurts. It doesn't feel good. You got some things that weather up, but at least you're still standing. Whereas young people, they literally have no roots. There's nowhere to stand. They just get burnt in every direction. And so inflation in the 70s, for people who grew up with it or experienced it as young parents like my mom did, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. Look what's going on with the baby formula. You got the military flying baby formula in from Germany. Somebody in the government finally figured out if you can't feed the babies, you're not going to get the votes. Yeah. So anyway, I don't see anything on a macro level changing. Everything is trending in the same direction. Not just here domestically. This isn't a political statement. No policies are changing anywhere. Everybody is still shunning the Russian oil, aside from countries who are like, literally, listen, we're going to die if we don't get this, so we're going to take the Russian oil. All the way down to all the ESG stuff and the social governance and everything else. They kicked Tesla out of the ESG S&P 500, not because they make the most electric cars of any company in the world. It's because their governance wasn't social enough. They didn't like Elon's recent outbursts, basically. So anyway, that is the deep motivation behind what I did in the first segment. I felt like I needed to share that. I needed to let people know that what you're feeling is something that's being pressed upon you. And when people come along and they tell you it's transitory, it'll go away soon. It never went away. Well, then they literally said inflation is good for you. It's good that we have inflation. No, it's not good. And literally it goes on and on. And then you see the political interviews, and people are like, I don't understand it. Why does the government think they can spend their way out of inflation? That's actually modern monetary theory. That is one of the tenets of modern monetary theory. Everybody thinks it's just money printing. No, it's not. Basically, inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods. So the government can control inflation by reducing the amount of money that's circulating. And what's the best? Since the government can print any money it needs, it doesn't need to tax you to fund its operation. The only purpose of taxes is to reduce the amount of money circulating in the economy to prevent inflation. That's why they want to raise your taxes in the middle of an inflationary spiral. They think it's going to stop inflation because that's what modern monetary theory says. Keynesian economics says, anyway, I disagree with that assessment, but the people in power believe it. And that's why you're hearing what you're hearing out of politicians in power. They believe that will work. Yeah. All right, so we're going to do an Ask Me Anything here for the rest of this part. So you guys can literally ask me anything you want in the comment section. I will answer it to the best of my ability and as briefly as possible so I don't keep you all here all day. All right, let's make sure I get back to where we were at before I went on a big rant. Buenos dias. Don, good to see you. Oops. There we go. I lost my spot. There we go. Back to the Spanish. Got it. Lou said it was me about the Sour Patch Kids. I said my kids got me hooked on those. Lou's like, it was me. Lou's my youngest son. Let's see. Cheryl and Rich are here. Good to have you guys. Good morning, Thor. Can I still get a hard drive that I purchased from Thor? Can I still get a hard drive that I purchased from Schrock in the spring of 2020? Stop in the Lincoln store to see. That won't baffle an employee, would it? Yeah, you probably have some confused faces looking at you. My guess is that you took advantage of the hard drive upgrade sale in 2020, but then never came in for it. You probably prepaid for it. So if that was the case, in the spring of 2020, we switched our invoicing system. So your invoice may not be in that system. We still have a record of it, though. So we'll just have to, you might have to tell them to look in QuickBooks. We ditched QuickBooks. That was one of the subscriptions we got rid of, and went to our own system that we built. So when you do come in, if they can't find record of it, tell them to check QuickBooks. And the funny thing is we have new employees in Lincoln that have never used QuickBooks in Lincoln before, so they might not know how to check QuickBooks. So you might call ahead just to make sure everything is situated before you pop in to get that drive put in. You stated that Chrome was not private. Please explain what privacy browsing actually means, what other browsers... Okay, so KJ, when I say that nothing about Chrome is private, every single thing you do in Google Chrome goes to Google. If you type something into the search bar at the top of the page and then backspace it out without hitting enter, that goes to Google. Like literally they monitor everything that you do with that browser. And then they take that data and they personally associate it with you, your advertising ID, and they use that data to try to craft, to target advertisements to you that are more meaningful. That's the official explanation. Now, the amount of information that Google has is phenomenal. Scary phenomenal. My new F-150, it kind of creeps me out a little bit. It tries to guess where I'm going on the nav screen. So it was sending me to my neighbor's house the other day, and then it figured out that we're one door down from there, and now it's getting a little more precise. And it thinks that the shop is just a couple doors down in Papillion than where it's at. And then when I get in the truck this morning, it's going to know on Sunday morning I usually go from here back home, and it's going to ask me if I want to navigate to my address, like I don't know the way home. I mean, I think if I do it every day, I would know the way. I need the nav system when I'm going to like Wyoming, right? Then I need the nav system. I don't need the nav system to go back home from the radio station. I do that every week. But it's just kind of creepy, right? But they're providing better product, more personalized product. So Google tries to do the same thing by collecting data about you. It tries to anticipate what your needs are going to be to put those options in front of you before you need them. But in order to do that, it literally has to read every email you type. It literally has to. The other day I was thinking about it. I'm like, my gosh, if I died, they could make a hologram out of me based on all the After Schrock videos and the radio audio. Literally, what have I not said? What have I not said that you would want a hologram to say? So it's crazy. There's plenty of deep fake material to make a deep fake Thor. Parker doesn't even need to come in here and do the show. He could just sit here and it could be a deep fake and it could be my face on him, and he could say all kinds of crazy stuff. It'd be nuts. Like, I wasn't there, guys. I really wasn't. So yeah, I guess when I say that Chrome is not private, what I mean is you are tacitly agreeing to tell Google everything. The other browsers that I mentioned do not collect data at all on you. So Firefox, for example, does not aggregate your data. They don't collect your data. They even have privacy options that you can restrict even further. Firefox is a good compromise. It's compatible with everything. It's much more private. It's not tied to Microsoft or Google, so it's not tied to one of the biggies. Brave is another one that was really good. The Duck browser, again, a nonprofit. They do get a lot of their funding from Google. Google donates to the Duck Foundation, which is kind of odd because they have a competing search engine. But maybe it's keep your enemies close kind of thing. I don't know. So, if you have concerns about that, don't use Duck. But, and then the Microsoft Edge browser right now is just Chromium with a Microsoft overlay. Chromium is the base that Google Chrome is built from, but then Google put all their spyware on top of it. Well, that's what Microsoft has done with Chromium now. They put a Microsoft wrap on it. To most people's knowledge, there's not a ton of Microsoft spyware on it yet, but eventually, of course, once they get market penetration, that'll be the goal, is to collect data for Microsoft's advertising purposes. So there's always a price to pay. There is no free lunch. I use Signal for my text messages, and every year they pop up a thing saying, can you donate to Signal? It's a nonprofit. And I try to send them $25 or $50 or something, whatever I think I'm getting use out of their product for. Because I like having private encrypted text messages with the people I care about and my employees. We can send confidential business information back and forth, and I can know that it's not being intercepted by a third party. I value that. So anyway, that's what I meant by it was not private. Aaron would rather take her chances starving to death rather than dying in a ball of fire. You know, to each their own, right? I guess. Let's see. Dying in a ball of fire is for the impatient. I'm not in a hurry. Why are gold and silver prices crashing alongside the market? I thought they were reciprocal. Well, they used to be until they were financialized, and this is why a lot of people are wondering what the hell's going on with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was supposed to be an inflation hedge, right? So Bitcoin's value is measured in dollars. The amount of Bitcoin is not fluctuating. The amount circulating has not gone up significantly. Why did its value in dollars go down so dramatically? Did the US dollar become super strong overnight, like 50% stronger? Nope. It's financialization. So basically, people in Wall Street don't actually buy Bitcoin and hold it in a wallet. Just like they don't go down to the vault and grab a couple bars of gold and take them down the street to the other bank to trade. They have paper that represents the physical. And there's always doubt as to whether or not the amount of paper actually matches the amount of physical in existence. Then there's shorts and longs and derivatives and all kinds of other stuff. The bottom line is the paper allows the market to manipulate the value of the commodities. But what we're seeing now, the thing that's different this time, that I don't think anyone is grasping yet, is that commodities are actual physical things that people need to use in life. Oil. Everybody thinks gas, right? Do you have anything plastic in your house? That's made from oil too. Do you have anything that's got a gasket on it, like a cup that you seal up? Like my Yeti has a little rubber ring around the lid to keep the lid on it? Oil. Any kind of a jelly, petroleum jelly, I mean, like oil. Oil is in your car tires, oil. Even your Tesla needs tires, and they're made from oil. So oil is in so many products. We need it. Therefore, it is valuable beyond what the financialization can contain. Gold is valuable because it doesn't tarnish. It can't be destroyed. It is used in industrial applications. It is used in minting. It's been historically used as a representation of a store of value, of time. It's money, basically. So why has it been not? Well, I'm going to argue that if I gave, let's say I walked into the shop and I had a 30-year-old employee or 25-year-old employee, and I sat on the table 1 ounce gold coin or $500 in cash, which is that employee going to think is more valuable? They don't know what to do with the gold coin. They're going to take the gold coin home and look at it. Maybe if they were smart, they'd take it to the pawn shop or the DSS coin shop and sell it for even more money. But they don't know. They're just looking. They don't know what it's worth. It's gold. I don't know. It's a rock. Thanks. I'll take the $500. I can put gas in my tank with that. I can buy food with that. I can't buy gas with gold. I can't buy food with gold. This is the same argument you hear about Bitcoin. I can't buy anything with Bitcoin. I can't take it down to the store and sell. I can't do anything with it. But unlike gold, Bitcoin, that's changing for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is becoming accepted at more and more vendors. You're starting to see like Bitcoin ATMs popping up in places, which sounds really crazy to people, but there are actually debit cards that you can load with Bitcoin that when you swipe the card in a terminal, it converts the Bitcoin to US dollars and spends it. So you get whatever the current US dollar price is in your Bitcoin for spending it. Now, if you're spending Bitcoin right now at this price, that's not wise. Because Bitcoin is at least $20,000 underneath its fair market price because of everything that's going on right now. So the challenge here is the world maybe the world goes back to some kind of a commodity standard. I don't ever think it'll be a gold standard because there's just not enough gold. But maybe like commodities. I've been hearing a little bit about this rumbling that maybe all commodities together could become, because you see like a basket of currencies, and then that's going to be like the gold standard for the SDR. Well, what if it was a basket of commodities instead? A basket of things that people actually needed. Wouldn't that be more attractive? Stuff that people need. So I think that gold and silver and everything is going down together because of financialization. Stocks lose money, people have to cover, portfolios have to be balanced, everything gets sold down, down, down. The end of this month is a quarter rebalancing, is what I'm hearing. So for 401k accounts, so your account will rebalance, which means it will sell off the stuff that's done really good and use that to buy the stuff that's done really bad. So it'll reallocate everything. Something to be aware of. If you don't want that to happen, you should change your allocations. I'm not opposed to it happening, actually, because I guess I'm buying a bunch of stuff that's a lot lower than it was before. So that's basically dollar cost averaging, right? I'm taking my profits from one thing and using it to buy something else. So we'll see what happens with it. But like my 401k is mostly in commodities and metals and mining right now. So I'm right there with you. I'm like, not just gold and silver. Yeah, the price is going down, and the stock price of the companies that mine it, though, curiously, is not falling as much as the price of the metal, which normally they kind of move in tandem. It's kind of like Bitcoin and Coinbase, right? If Bitcoin goes down, the mining stocks and the exchange stocks all go down too. But we're not seeing that so much in the gold sector. My mining stocks are doing great. I think, well, this is terrible to say, I think I'm down like $5,000 over the last 2 months in my 401k. Which, I'm down, so that makes me like I'm the cleanest dirty shirt in the laundry, but I'm not down, 47% because I was in all tech. So anyway, I think that's what's going on there. Should we have stayed on the gold standard to begin with? That's a great question, Aaron. So if on the gold standard, the reason that I understand it, the reason that the gold standard was broken was because of war debt. The United States was spending too much money, and there was no way, they couldn't print their way out of it because they were bound by this physical metal. And so that's when a lot of our printing press problems originated, is when we dropped the gold standard. If we would have never gone off the gold standard, well, there definitely wouldn't have been a war in Iraq, the first one, or the second one. We wouldn't have gone to Afghanistan. We would not be sending $50 billion of aid to Ukraine right now. That's for sure. Because that's real gold. You have to pack up $50 billion of gold and send it to Ukraine. Are you going to do that? No. That's real money. So I think that removing government from a limiting standard for what it can spend is overall a bad idea. But the problem is you're not going to get everyone to agree on that. In fact, you're going to get everyone at different points of history saying it's a good thing we're not on the gold standard, or we wouldn't have been able to do X or Y. There wouldn't have been a space program. Like through the 80s, all the deficit spending that Reagan did wouldn't have been possible. The Soviet Union might still exist. We outspent them. That's what we did. We didn't beat them militarily. We outspent them, which is what we're doing to Russia right now. So, I don't know. I can see arguments both ways that having real money is a good thing, and it allows people to preserve their. We're all kind of serfs now, aren't we? It's like a new form of serfdom, where you work your life away for a retirement account that is then destroyed by inflation and devalued by low interest rates at the end of your life. It hardly seems fair, and you work just as hard as anybody working today. And if people working today think that they're special and it's not going to happen to them, well, you're just a fool. It's going to happen to you. So you better have some of your money in something the government can't touch, whether that's a little bit of gold, a little bit of silver, a little bit of Bitcoin. because if the government can touch it, they'll take it every time. Secure Updater is $50 the first year, Brad, and then $25 or $29 each additional year to renew it. So it's a little under $3 a month, but it is what it averages out to. But literally, it provides that it plugs that gap in your security hole, in your security picture. So your antivirus, like Sophos, keeps all the viruses and malware out of the computer from all known entry points. But when you have programs on the computer like Zoom, Dropbox, Adobe, all the programs that we need every day, VLC Player, LibreOffice, the stuff that we use, when those companies make updates for those programs, they're not making the updates because they're bored on a Tuesday night. They're making the updates because there's a vulnerability that's been discovered that needs to be plugged so bad guys can't take advantage of it to circumvent existing security. So in other words, a problem with your Zoom could allow a bad guy to get around your Sophos and into your computer anyway. So we don't want that to happen, obviously. So that's what Secure Updater does, is within 8 hours of the release of the patches, it downloads and installs them into the computer. Aaron says, I'd like to buy $10 of Bitcoin at its lowest and then wait for it to go back up. Well, that's a great plan, and this is one of the things about Bitcoin that is, it's fundamental, and it separates. There's different types of people that buy Bitcoin. So there's people like Aaron that are buying Bitcoin because they're denominating it in dollars and they're saying, I want my dollar investment to go up. I want to have more dollars tomorrow than I have today based on a smart decision I made. Nothing wrong with that. Then you have Bitcoin maximalists who say the dollar is eventually doomed. Like every currency that has ever come before it in the history of man. The dollar is not the exception. It will eventually lose its throne. Just like the British pound, just like Spain's currency did, just like Rome's currency did. Eventually it will lose its throne. For some reason or another, it'll fall out of favor. When that happens, if you have a lot of dollars or a lot of dollar-denominated things, you're going to be hurting. So denominating your Bitcoin in dollars is silly. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Bitcoin should be spent like Bitcoin. It's Satoshis, it's not dollars. And how many Satoshis is a milkshake? Dollars have nothing to do with it. Unless, of course, the place making the milkshake is buying the milkshake ingredients in dollars, then it has everything to do with it, right? Let's see. Last week, 24 gallons of diesel cost $100. Yeah, I believe it. And it's different. Different stations have radically different prices too. I just switched from my F350 to an F150, and I have to tell you, I'm not missing the diesel price. That's for sure. Good morning, Catherine. All right, I'm interested in the modular program. Who can I talk to, and can you ship? All right, that's a great question, Deb. So we have Freedom Modular. I haven't talked about it the last couple of weeks on the show because I'm kind of saving it. It's great content for an evergreen show, which is what I'm going to record next week. Hopefully when my voice and everything is better. But Freedom Modular is our computer renting, leasing kind of hybrid idea where you get your computer as a service, basically, at a fixed price per month. You don't own the computer. It's a Schrock computer, but that means if it breaks, we fix it for you. So your cost of ownership over time is much lower. You don't ever end up with 15 dead computers in your basement because when your term is up, you just trade your computer in and you get a new one and you don't really care. Like the old one, we just take care of it. So it's a really cool idea. So you can sign up for it at SchrockInnovations.com, go to products and go to Freedom Modular. You can get on the waiting list. So the way that the waiting list is working is you have to be an existing customer of Schrock. So if you're not already, as of March 31st, a customer of Schrock Innovations, we're not going to call you right away on the waiting list. So the waiting list is chronological, but then we're going to sort that chronological list. So we're going to sort it by are you currently a Schrock customer? The main reason for this is we're not doing credit checks or anything in the beginning. We're trying to keep the costs down. We just want to see if the program works, if customers like it, if it is something that is reasonable for us to do. And if it is, great. Then we can expand it and we can make it more complex and, all the bells and whistles and everything. If it doesn't work, then we don't want to invest a bunch more time in it if it's not going to work. So we need to start off with customers who we know are good customers who have been with us for a while, that we know are good for it, that we know are going to pay. Because literally, if we lose one computer in this program, it negates the profitability from like 5 computers being sold. So it's high risk in that regard for us. So once we have that in place, then of course, during that time, even good customers, we're going to have some people who can't pay for one reason or another. We'll be able to build a profile of what that person looks like that can't pay, and then we can create a future system to avoid that. So are we shipping? That's a great question. I don't think we've talked about that on staff yet. We assume that because we're only doing it with existing customers, they would all be local. We obviously have existing customers that are not local, or that were local at one point but are no longer local. So are we willing to ship? I would venture to say, for the right customer, we would. For you, Deborah, we would. For a customer who's been in one time for a prepaid maintenance checkup in March, probably not. For a long-time Schrock customer, absolutely. The shipping would cost, of course, but yeah. And then, of course, at the end, one of the things that we haven't, the reason we didn't consider this is, at the end, you have to turn the computer back into us, which means you'd have to ship it back to us. And so there's a cost there as well to consider as well. Have you researched any of the crypto brokerage houses? I would like to find something different than BlockFi that is secure and will allow for quicken to download transactions. I would also like the account to allow for buying and selling. Catherine, the one that I'm using right now is Gemini. And Gemini is one of the industry leaders. They also have an earn program, very much like BlockFi, except theirs is not suspended right now, so you can actually deposit your crypto there and earn interest if that's something that interests you. You can use it as a wallet to hold your crypto. You can also trade there. You can buy and sell there. You can link to a bank account. I did a test transaction this week. We're going on vacation, right? So I said I had some dry powder there. Some of that was vacation money that I promised our wife I would set back for a vacation. So it was time for the vacation money to come back to our bank account, and I thought, what a great way to test Gemini. So, it's a week before we leave. I'm going to make sure I got plenty of time here, week and a half at that point. And I did the withdrawal, and the withdrawal was a substantial amount. It wasn't just for the vacation. It was just, this is the amount I set aside for it. We're going to put it in the bank account. I did the withdrawal, and they warned me it could take up to 3 days for it to appear in your account. And I thought, that's reasonable. I'm doing this on like a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock at night. 3 days is reasonable. I know when we do direct deposit payroll, we have to do it on Tuesday to get it to people by Friday. So 3 days is very reasonable. That money was in my account the next morning. I'm talking like I woke up at 7 a.m. and the money was in my bank account. I do not know how they possibly transferred the money that quickly. The banks weren't even open. How? But they did. So Gemini, I'm liking Gemini a lot. They're really doing well. Also, for those of you who were following me when I was messing around with Gate.io, remember how they booted everyone from North America off the platform, so they're going to lock your accounts or whatever? Well, I had a stupid little project that was generating just a tiny amount of what we'll call crap coin. It was called Chia. It's a hard drive coin. But it was like $100 worth of coin. But the only place I could sell it was on Gate. So I'm just accumulating this coin, and I'm like, gosh, and the price is just going down because the project is junk, and I knew it was junk, but I figured, well, I'll have hard drives when I'm done. I can sell the hard drives used on eBay and get most of my money back, whatever. I went back to my Gate.io account, and it said, hey, if you're in North America, you can't log in here. And I said, I'm not in North America. And it let me log right into my account, and every single option is still available to me. There was 21 cents in that account. It's still there. So I deposited my Chia, figuring, if I lose it, I can't cash it out anywhere else anyway. So if I lose it, great, whatever. Nope, it showed up in the account, and I was able to then convert it into Bitcoin. And I've been trading the Bitcoin now for 3 days in there. Just back and forth, because moving $100 of Bitcoin is not exactly economical. So you gotta grow it first, right? So I'm trying to. I've grown it from $100 to $109. I'm like, it's hard to get excited about it. So I try to reframe it. I'm like, I have a 9% rate of return on my Bitcoin right now. Yeah. Almost beating inflation, right? All righty. Sorry, I'm scrolling here. The DBC ticker is a basket of commodities. I wonder how it's doing. I didn't know there was a ticker for that. They financialized that too. All right, DBC ticker. Oops, I'm typing on the wrong keyboard. I'm like, it's not doing anything. The Invesco DB Commodity Index Tracking Fund. Let's see here. I want to get a chart, and I want to do 1 year chart. 1 year chart is up dramatically. It's up like NASDAQ Tech dramatic. In January, it was at around $21, and it's like 28 now. So yeah, that's a pretty good gain there. Yeah, they don't give me the 52-week high-low or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely the value of commodities has been on an uptick actually since March of 2020, since COVID. Commodities has been ticking up, 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 up. We had a little bit of a dip in December of 21. My guess is that's end of the year selling, and then it resumed its pump. It got really excited in March. That's pretty much when I moved everything into commodities, was in March. So I think maybe I wasn't the only one that thought, maybe I should be in energy, maybe I should be in minerals, maybe I should be in this stuff. And then it's been trending. The logarithmic line would trend up from there. So yeah, who knows what it's going to keep doing? But it looks like so. There's a ticker for me to follow. Thank you for that. I've tried to fill out the form online and it won't work. All right, Deborah, send me an email, tschrock@schrockinnovations.com, and just shoot me a reminder that you're trying to do that, and then I can put you in touch with Alfonso, who will take a look and figure out why. When you send me the email, just fill in the fields, like whatever it's asking on the fields on the form, to tell me what you're trying to put in, and there might be some logic there that maybe is stripping it away. Maybe Alfonso, for example, has restricted it to Nebraska and Iowa only, assuming it would be picked up at a local location. So that's one of those situations that we can always make a one-off exception for. All right, guys, my voice is dying, my nose is running, I'm hitting the end of the fuel tank. So I appreciate y'all being here. I'm glad that you enjoyed the program today, or hope you enjoyed it. And like I said, I'll try to record you some good stuff for the next couple weeks here. I usually wait until later in the week to record, so that way the news is fresher. So who nobody wants week-old news. Day-old news is bad enough. Week-old news, come on. So we'll wait till later in the week to record a show for you. But the next couple weeks will be recorded, which means there won't be any video and there won't be any After Schrock. So just a heads up there. If you go looking for it, that's what's happening. All right. I'll look forward to recording for you later this week. And hopefully you guys have a great week. Thanks a lot.